Okay, welcome everybody. Today we have Natalie Houser in the house. She will be talking about her wonderful book. Yes, she's an author, and she totally matches the book. I mean, how amazing is that? Matching painting, matching outfit, incredible shoes. Show them your shoes. Very nice. So she's going to talk about her amazing book and talk to you guys a little bit too about, finishing school and going out and serving in the community. I know you guys are all excited to almost be done. How many days? 36. How many hours? Someone What is it?
We're at 36 days and 4 hours.
How many minutes?
46 minutes and 14, 13, 12 seconds.
Yeah! Please give her a warm round of applause. And thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
We have books for all of our third-year students, so if you guys would like to have her sign your book for you at the end, and take a copy.
Thank you.
All right.
I must say, I'm really nervous because Paul is in the back. And nobody told me about that. So I'll try to just get through that. I'll try. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Director Malini and Lindsay, for inviting me out. A lot of times throughout my entire journey, I've told myself, and I've realized that sometimes you just need one other person outside of yourself to believe in you and your mission and what you're doing in order for you to succeed. And I'm just so thankful that I have these two young ladies in the back or here in front of me that have just shown unconditional support, and they haven't known me very long. So I want to thank you and give you a round of applause, both of you. And so I just asked her right before when I saw Paul, I was like, what do you want me to talk about today? And she's like, whatever you want to. So I'm glad we have 5 hours to get through all of this. I'm going to tell you my whole life story. Thanks to Facebook Memories, right? You know that little thing that pops up when you're on Facebook? I know that 4 years ago, I graduated from USC PA program. And I was also an NHSC Scholar recipient, where they pay for you to go to the PA school of your choice as long as you promise to work in a community clinic, FQHC, after you graduate. You also get a monthly stipend each month that you're in the program. You're a third years and you probably missed that, or some of you are probably scholars. Facebook has also told me that I was NHSC, the loan repayment recipient. So recently they gave me $50,000 after I finished my 3 years to just pay towards my loans as long as I stayed with my company for an additional 2 years. And so yeah, we can thank Facebook for that, right? What is really interesting with me standing before you today in this white coat with this PAC is that I was actually supposed to go to this program. I was actually accepted. I interviewed and I was accepted, and it was a full circle moment for me because I went to King Drew High School. I went to Charles Drew Head Start Elementary School. And so it was all full circle for me. I went through the Augustus Hawkins volunteer program. We did the hospital program. And so my dream was really to come to this PA program. And you know that didn't happen. Through the book and through today, you'll learn why that didn't happen. And that's why I'm also so thankful for what they've done to this program and where you guys are going with that. So be proud to be here because I wanted to be here. So it starts, at King Drew High School. Every summer I went to Harvard for a summer school program, and I just had to, growing up in a big city, you have to really occupy your time, because when you have idle time, I grew up in Compton, the title of the book, The Compton Diagnosis. If you don't occupy your time, it could be very dangerous. You can get trapped into a lot of stuff that's going on within the community, things that are not so great, and I just had to get out. So during the summers, I went to Harvard and I did a summer school program for gifted children. I'm not gifted, I just know that working hard will get you where you need to go. So all 4 years I did that, and I recognized something while at Harvard was that I really was my own worst critic. I really just put myself down. I would get into a room to take a test after I've studied for hours, and then I'd get there and I'll say, I'm the only black student in here, or I'm the youngest in here. I would just judge myself so much, never even recognizing that I was actually in that same room with everyone else. And how often do we do that, right? And so I would study, pull all-nighters and do all these things, and then I'd get in the room to take the test, and I'd have the weight of the world, the weight of my mom, everything negative would just be on me, and I'd sit down and my vision is clouded and I couldn't perform on the test. So very early I knew there was an issue with test taking, but I never addressed it. And so the first thing I'm going to tell you is, you know you have an issue, you know you have a problem, or you struggle in a certain area. If you don't address it, it will never be taken care of. So I didn't address it, and it wasn't taken care of. I graduated from high school, and here I meet my first rejection ever, and it was I didn't get accepted to the college of my choice. Now, going from Harvard and being the one in your family, they're calling you they called me Doogie Houser, and Houser is my married last name, so it's just so crazy that happens. But they're calling me Doogie Houser, they're already asking me medical questions, and I'm just 17, 18 years old, and then I meet my first rejection. I feel like not only did I let myself down, I let my family down. I let everyone down. And it may not look like it, but a fun fact, I am first generation. My mom's from Belize, and so she came to this country for her children to do well. Right? So every time I failed, I'm like, I'm letting my mom down. I'm letting my brother down. I'm letting my family down. I'm letting my mom's country down. I never even thought about myself. So when I meet this first rejection, I didn't get into Johns Hopkins, and that was because I didn't do well on the SAT. And they said, if you only would have scored 10 points higher, we would have accepted you. I was like, what? Are you serious? I worked so hard. I volunteered at Cedars. I shadowed doctors. I did everything. I made a portfolio. I interviewed for the school. I worked so hard to be rejected. And I don't know if any of you have ever been rejected before, but you know that feeling. It's like you're nauseous, you get fatigued, you're not interested in your normal activities, you have crying spells. What is that? You're in your third year? What is that? That's a major depression, right? So I didn't want to attach that to myself, because I'm like, no, I'm not depressed. I'm just really sad and fatigued, and I don't feel like doing anything anymore. And I just would go to school. King Drew, they wear uniforms. I showed up that week in the same uniform. New shoes all the time, but the same uniform, not ironed. I was just really, really depressed. I didn't know it. The rejection changed my character so much that I started treating those around me like they didn't even matter, when they were the ones that mattered when I'd go inside of a room. And if you know any Belizean women, or just your mom in general, you'll know what I'm trying to tell you. My mom came into the room and she's like, so what college are you gonna go to? I need to know, I need to brag to everyone at work. And I was like, I'm not going to college. I'm gonna take a year off. That's what some of my friends were doing. And I'm going to work on my SAT skills. I'm gonna retake it, and I'm gonna get into the school I wanna go to. And she walked out. I was like, sweet, that was easy. But then she came back with like full force, kicked the door down, and was like, you're going to school, you're gonna pick one of these schools you were accepted to, and you're gonna have this done by tonight. And she's all in my face, talking and talking and talking. She's so close to my personal space. I was mad, I was angry, and what did I do? I pushed her.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. And so another fun fact is that I'm here today. I survived to tell you all that story, and I'm still alive. I can talk about that now. I actually wrote about it in the book. And even when she read the preliminary book, she's just like, you're lucky to write this story. So she told me, you need to move on. Everyone around me was saying, move on. And I'm like, how do you get over rejection? I need tools. I need a pamphlet. I need a checkoff list. Like, how do you get through this? And everyone just kept saying, move on, move on. You've been accepted to all these other colleges. Why not accept one of them? They're accepting you how you are. Why are you so focused on the school that didn't want you? And I was saying, because Ben Carson, he's a neurosurgeon. I want to be like him. I read his book, Gifted Hands, and I want to go there. And I just wanted to be so much like him that I wanted to be in his space, and the rejection just tore me down. So I reached on those around me after I survived the pushing incident of my mom. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go to a school in California. I'm going to pick a school that's diverse, that is on the same goals that I have, and that's far away from home, but close enough if I need help. And so I went to UC Riverside, right? So Riverside is like, we have one person who's gone there too. So Riverside, if you are living in this area, it's really far, right? It's like another state. And so I knew my mom wouldn't just pop up on me at any time. So I was like, all right, I'll go there. And guess what happened? I still never addressed that issue of test taking. And so when I got to Riverside, I kept taking these science courses, and guess what happened? I kept failing them. I failed chemistry over 3 times, I lost count. I dropped physics so many times. I don't even know about calculus. I mean, it was just like a constant struggle. And so I walked in, I get this email that's like, okay, academic probation. I'm like, what? And at the same time, my mom's like, I'm picking you up this weekend. I need a copy of your first report card so I can show everyone at work. I'm like, oh boy, what am I gonna do? So I Googled and I did like this DIY thing of like, how do you make a fake report card from college? And I did that. And I felt like such a fraud walking out, because I'm like, she's paying all this money, we're racking up all these loans, and instead of addressing my issue, I'm covering it. I'm covering it up. And it looked good, it looked great. I showed all my roommates and they were like, oh my gosh, you did so well. And I'm like, okay, if they are fooled, my Belizean mom will be fooled too. So I get in the car and I'm shaking and I sit down. She's got this Aerostar van, so you gotta like slide the door all the way up, slam it back, and she sit down. She's like, give me the report card. So I hand it to her and I'm shaking and I didn't say anything. And she's like, oh wow, this is great. And I was like, yeah, it's great. And that's it. But she's a mom. She didn't know that until she read the preliminary for the book. And I asked her, I said, well, if you knew something was up, like, why didn't you say anything? Because I asked her, how'd you feel when you read that part? She's like, I knew something was wrong, but I knew you weren't asking for help, so I was just gonna let you figure it out. And she never asked for a report card after that. I thought I was in the clear, like, oh yeah, she got fooled, she think I'm doing 4.0, but really, my science GPA was a 1.43. And I remember that, because that used to be, if you text someone, it was like, I love you, you know? So I was like, that was my science GPA. So I came to the realization, I was like, you know what, I don't know what's happening, I don't know what's going on with these tests, but they're haunting me. There's some issue here, and it's only with these science classes, so I'm gonna drop all of these sciences, and I'm just gonna graduate on time, because I'm not doing a 5-year plan, I'm not doing a 6-year plan. So I did. I went in as a neuroscience major. I probably had some attractive minor, I don't know. It didn't matter, because once I got on academic probation, they were like, you're not smart enough for neuroscience, you need to pick something else. So I picked psychology, because I loved studying people, and the first class was like, how to tell if someone's lying. And I was like, oh, this will be perfect. So I signed up for psych, and then I started doing really well, but the same thing kept happening. You study so much. I'm studying, I'm pulling all-nighters, and I'm going to the test, and I'm not doing well. I'm on academic probation again, but this time they were like, okay, we're not playing. You don't pass this quarter, you're going to be dismissed. I'm like, holy crap. I don't know what my mom's gonna think about that. All these loans she's racking up, and I didn't know what the issue was, and no one else around me at Riverside knew what it was either. So I just started doing the best that I could, and I graduated with a 2.2, and I'm proud of that 0.2, because that's like the minimum you need to graduate with a bachelor's degree. But I did it. And at the time, someone was like, you know, if you still want to try this medicine thing, even though you're not doing really well, why don't you just consider a post-bac? Get your life together, do better in your sciences, and then maybe you can go to med school. So I picked a post-bac in Jersey. And I was like, I gotta get away. It's California, that's the issue. That was my issue. Being around my friends, I was like, this is the issue, so I'm out of here. I racked up out-of-state tuition fees. I don't know, is anyone from Jersey before I go on? Oh, okay. So, I racked up out-of-state tuition fees. The weather is horrible. They have these things called nor'easters, which is something that I've never experienced in my California life, and I would cry like almost every day because it was like negative whatever and snowing. And I thought, you didn't have to go to class on snow days. That's what we saw on TV in California. They still want you to go. So I'm like, how am I supposed to do well in these science classes when my Ugg boots, don't buy Ugg boots for the snow. And like when my Ugg boots are saturated, my toes are frozen. Like what am I, you know, it was bad. I struggled. So I was like, okay, that's the issue. It's the weather. And I kept saying it was something else and I never really got it. So I went to a talk kind of like this that they have for the post-bac program, and a medical director came and he talked and he said, you know, there was this girl I helped. She didn't do well on the MCAT. She took it 8 times. She came to me for help, and on the 9th time she passed. She went to Duke Medical School. She did this, and I'm like, I need to talk to this guy. I need to find out what he told that girl. So I go to his office, schedule a meeting, and I'm like, this is the dean of the medical school that I was supposed to go to, because the postbac bridges you into the medical school, a program of your choice. You get to apply first, you get first dibs. There's like some fine print that I just glazed over. You needed to maintain a certain GPA and all this other stuff. So I'm in his office and I tell him exactly what I'm telling you. And he's like, yeah, okay. So are you ready for me to help you? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you need to go to therapy. Like, what? So I'm sitting in the chair, you know, the dean's office, they always have these big chairs, they're leather, and I'm like slouching down with a fake smile, and I'm like, therapy? I drove all the way to Newark. It's far. It's like driving to Riverside for you to tell me that I need to go to therapy? How come somebody else didn't just tell me this, right? He's a medical doctor, he's a dean, and I'm just like, I don't want to go to therapy. I'm from Compton, like, we're strong. I'm gonna pray about it. I'm gonna talk to my family. I'm gonna sleep it off. I'm gonna go run. I'm gonna play some ball, and I'm gonna get through it. But none of that had worked before, so I don't know why I was still trying to do that stuff now. So I called my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, and I'm like, hey, this dude's talking like I'm crazy. It's like, I need to go to therapy. Your patients are gonna say this too. Like, I'm not crazy, I need to go to therapy. And he's like, well, you went to him for help. So what I wanna tell you today is, if you seek someone out and you go to them for help or advice and they give you some advice, take it. Otherwise, you're wasting your time and you're wasting their time. So I almost didn't want to go to therapy. I was like, I'll try it out. I'll give it one shot. The normal session for therapy, your first time, is like 30, 45 minutes. I think I was in there for like an hour and a half. She was like, I'm so glad you came. We're gonna meet weekly. And so it was weekly, and then it was twice a week. And then there was one portion of the program I went 5 times in that 1 week, like every day. And it really helped. I went from failing these tests to now in organic chemistry. The professor called after the final. He had a fine print that I paid attention to, and it said, if you're failing the course and you get an A on the final, what do they usually say? You get an A in the class. So now I'm towards the end of therapy. I was in therapy all 2 years I was in Jersey, and it was a little bit less than 2 years. And I'm towards the end of therapy, and this is the final. And the final is out of 300 points, I got like 296. Now, if you know anything about saponification and whatever, you know that that test is insanely hard. But in therapy, they taught me how to not take all this other stuff that I'm worried about into this one test. Who here has ever told themselves that this is the biggest test of my life? Right. It's not. Don't ever tell yourself that again. That was something that already started that anxiety. This is the biggest test of my life. If I don't pass this, I can't go on to this. If I don't do this, I can't, and I just kept telling myself, and that was one thing she wanted me to stop. It's so simple, right? It's not the biggest test of your life. It really isn't. So once I started doing that, I was able to walk in with a little less anxiety. The other thing she told me is recognize that you are here too. Yes, everybody's in organic chemistry, they're finishing fast, but you're in organic chemistry too. You've met the qualifications to get to this point. So you are here. Don't judge yourself against other people in your class. So I walk in, not a care in the world, and I probably was just going through this all-nighter, and I sit down and I write out all these problems. And when I walked away, I didn't even worry about the test. I didn't talk to anyone about it. Everyone wanted to talk about, what'd you put for this one? I didn't want to talk about it. That stresses me out. Yeah, if you guys do that, just please stop. Don't do that for the pants. You will go through fatigue and crying spells and all that other stuff. So once he said, he calls me up and he's like, hey, I need help. And I'm like, you're the professor of the organic chemistry department. I don't think I can help you. He's like, I always say this, but it never happens, and you happen to do it. I'm not surprised because I know you're dry, but I am surprised because you were failing everything. Please, help me work through this. What did you do? So I told him about therapy. I told him what I did and just how I set it all up, how I studied, and how I already knew. I know what it takes. Like I said, I'm not smart. I know if I work hard, I will get the results. But I didn't know how to make it apply during a test. And once I figured that out, I was golden. And instead of giving me A, he gave me a B. He's like, look, to just play it safe so I can feel better about myself and you, he's like, I just can't. And he's like, and I'm actually gonna take that off my syllabus and I'm gonna change it to, if you pass, you will pass the class instead of failing the class. I was happy though, because when I submitted for the CASPA to apply, all these F's and D's and withdrawals, and I had this B plus in organic chemistry. I was so proud. And when I sat down for my interview at USC, I told the guy who interviewed me, he's like, why am I just now interviewing you? I was like, my grades, they suck. The GRE, I didn't do well on that. And even though I had the tools, it's just you take a child out of Compton, you give me a math test, I will ace it. You start asking me about vocabulary words and metaphors and things, I don't know. I just didn't do well. They had me take it a second time, and still I got the same score. So in my interview, I was like, look, test taking is not my best suit, but I can work hard, I am determined, and I am passionate about practicing medicine. And you won't be sorry for accepting me into your program. And he said to me, we look forward to having you. So I walked away and I'm like, yes, I'm gonna get accepted. But a few weeks later, I got a call and they said, unfortunately, we will not be able to accept you. We need you to do a little bit better on the GRE. You're coming up like high risk. And I was like, all right, that's cool. That's fine, I know that I don't test well. And at the time, I got an interview to Howard's PA program. So I was like, okay, let me go out to Howard. And as I'm at Howard, I'm in the hotel with my mom. She wanted to go. And she's still not really sure when I'm going back to school to be a doctor. So you're gonna get that a lot. She's like, when are you gonna go back to school? So we're in Washington, D.C., and then I get a phone call, and it's Pasadena's area code. And I'm like, yeah, 626. And I'm like, who's calling? So I'm like, hello? And she's like, hi, Natalie, we know you're out there for the Howard interview. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, so we want to offer you acceptance into the USC PA program. And my mom wakes up, she's like, who is that? And I'm like, it's fake. And I hang up. I'm like, I don't know who that is. Someone really knew that I wanted to go to USC. And the reason how I led to USC is that when I applied here, I was interviewed, I was accepted, and then I wanted to give my money to hold my seat. You guys remember that? Where you're like, okay, yes, you want me, I want you, let's make this official. And no one ever told me where to send my money. And so I kept calling and calling. I'm like, where do I send my money? They're like, just hold on. We'll let you know soon, or you'll get something in the mail. So when I got something in the mail, it said, we have selected to withdraw from the accreditation process, best wishes. And I was like, are you kidding me? I just drove my Corolla from the armpit of America with my dog and everything that I own for you to tell me best wishes? I didn't know what to do, but this was my second major rejection, right? And I was just like, man, this is crazy. What do I do? And it was the same thing. Move on to another program, move on, apply, reapply. And I'm like, no, but I need to be doing this, and I need to be making this much money by the age of this. And I had all these requirements, but I didn't have the skill set to just move on. So I said, all right, I'll just retake all these classes that I failed. And someone from Drew called and said, hey, you're such a great candidate. We want to give you some advice. Apply to USC. Your mission fits their mission. We're really sure you'll get accepted. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. Not with my GPA. There's no way I'm going to get into USC. And I did. I was initially rejected, but then I got a letter in the mail that said, we would love to have you, just weeks after they called and said, you probably won't get in. So I show up and I'm like so thankful to be there, and it's orientation day, and I look around and I'm like, I'm the only black person in this class. Again. And all the therapy went out the window, and I became my own worst critic. Just, why am I here? I'm not supposed to be here. This is probably why they accepted me. I'm not gonna do well. I'm gonna get put out. All of these negative things. And every single faculty member that I came across said, they must have saw it. It must have been like highlighted on my head. They're like, you're supposed to be here, just like everyone else. We believe you will do well, and that's why you're here. And I continue to go through the program. Now, the thing with the program is, any program, it's hard being the only whatever, fill in the blank. If you're the only black student, if you're the only mother, if you're the only whatever, the only one that went to UC Riverside, like whatever it is, it's a little difficult just to be the only one, because a lot of people become interested and they want to ask you things. And then also, you judge yourself on that. And that's what I did. And so I was doing well on the test, well enough to get by, and came down to rotations. And I'm like, okay, this is where I need to be. I'm sure a lot of you were like that, like all that classroom stuff, I need hands-on, I'm gonna do well, I'm ready to do this. And I got out into rotations and I was doing pretty well, I thought. I show up to the first rotation and she was like, did you bring anything? I was like, what? And she's like, usually students bring donuts or something. And I was just like, no, I didn't bring anything. And she's like, oh, okay. And she told me to be there at 9, I was there at 8. And she's like, by the way, are you always gonna get here this early? And I was like, oh, I am not doing well. And so I called my mom and I'm like, hey, you gotta bring me something. I have to have something. I have to, like, you know, I tell her all this. And so I'm like, get donuts. She's like, okay, I got you, in this thick accent. So I'm in the bathroom making this call. And then she calls me, she's like, I'm here. I'm like, okay. I open the door at the back of the clinic and I see my mom and she's standing there with 2 gallons of Tampico juice, bagels, and like 3 different cream cheeses. And they have no refrigerator. I'm like, Mom, and we're arguing. And I'm like, I told you donuts. Why are you bringing Tampico juice? Like, we don't even drink this. What are you doing? And she's like, you better be lucky I'm here. And I showed up with stuff. You're the one who showed up with nothing. And I'm like, Mom, I need donuts. And then the doctor walks over and she's just like, hi, you must be Natalie's mom. And then after the day goes on, she's like, so you still calling your mom for things? I was like, oh boy. So what that rotation taught me is that, hey, I am on rotations. Whether I like it or not, I'm going to be a professional soon, and I need to act professionally. We can still call our moms, but I learned not to show up empty-handed. So every time I went to rotations, I had Krispy Kreme donuts, and I was like, hey, I have donuts. I'm the USCPA student. What she also taught me was that I was so happy to be on rotations, I just stopped studying. Don't ever stop studying. You have to keep studying. Just because you pass the PANCE or you pass end of rotation exam, that doesn't mean it's all done. You have to continue to study. And she's like, go see this child. I came out, she's like, what are your differentials? I'm like, she's sick. And she's like, well, what are your differentials? And I'm like, she's sick. She's really sick, or she's just kind of sick, she's getting over it. And she's like, no, what are your differentials? And I'm like, I don't even know what those are. You see the PowerPoints when people come up and they're like, so these are the list of differentials, and you're like, yeah, but what are they really? I didn't know. And she's like, if the differentials represented your bank account, she's like, you're really broke. You need to leave my rotation, go study, and come back tomorrow with some differentials. That was my very first rotation. So rotation 2, 3, 4, all the way through, I was like doing a little bit better and taking constructive criticism for that value, not being sad or anything by this, just like really truly understanding that people are placed in our lives on rotation to really make us better, not for me to get a job, not for anything, for me to learn. So I continued to progress through. I think I'm doing well. And then the school sent me to a rotation site where there was another PA there. So now I was working with a doctor, and now I'm also with a PA who's working in the clinic. I'm like, this is awesome. I get to see the relationship. Now this particular clinic had a 2-hour lunch. And so during the 2 hours, I went to the gym and I played basketball, because you work in the morning, it's really hard. It was a community clinic. And then 2 hours I'd go kind of calm down and then go back. Well, one day I get to the gym and it's crowded. And I'm like, I got next. They're like, there's 6 people ahead of you. I'm like, oh man. So I go back to the clinic. I'm like, I'll read the charts. And as I walk in, the lights are off because it's lunchtime. And I walk into a room and I hear the PA telling the medical doctor, just fail her. I need you to fail her. And he's like, yes, but why? I'm asking you why. And she's like, because she has too much confidence. And he's like, okay, but what does that have to, just tell me, what do you, just please, if you do me this one favor, I will give you the opportunity to teach at whatever program, like I will help get you in, I just need you to fail her. So I was the only student there. And in that moment I was like, lights are off, they didn't hear me walk in, I can walk out quietly, cry in my car, or I can make a big scene, or I didn't know what to do. So as I'm thinking about what to do, I was just autopilot, turn on the lights, hi. And she turns around, oh, Natalie, what are you doing there? How long have you been there? Long enough. So I walk away, and the first thing I did was call the program director. And I said, this is happening at my rotations. I didn't call a friend, I didn't call my mom, I didn't call my classmates. I was like, I need to go directly to the program because they have me at this rotation site. So the director said, you can either finish the day there or you can go. and you can come back and we'll find you another place. At that time, my mom had just been laid off from her company of like 20 years. My husband had lost his job, and I didn't know what to do. I was like, I have to graduate on time. So with my husband losing his job in the midst of all this, we had just bought our house, and I didn't know what, I was at loss. I was like, confidence, my confidence is down here, and you want to fail me for some down here confidence? Okay. So I go to someone at our program, and I sit in his office, and I was like, this is what happened. My husband lost his job. I'm struggling. What should I do? He's like, think about now. It's too often in life, we're thinking about the future. We're thinking about what we need to do, but you have to take care of right now. You have to finish this program. You have to get through this. So you have the scholarship. Why don't you go pull some loan money out? And he's just like, he really brought me back to here and right now. He's standing right there. It's Mr. Turner, everybody. So I'm going through this with this rotation, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go back in, I'm gonna finish the day. And I walk back in, and the doctor's like, what do you wanna do? I was like, I'm gonna finish the day. As I'm wiping my tears, eyes are puffy, but I'm like, I'm gonna do this. And he's like, you know, we were having a conversation because this is my first time working with a PA student. I usually work with medical students. I was asking her, how should I grade you? Because the list here doesn't really give me enough to write what I want you to do. And so I asked her as a PA to help me out. And then that's the response I had. But I'm not going to fail you because of your work ethics. You show up every day, you show up on time, you're eager to learn. He's like, there's no way I can fail you. And if you heard anything, I hope you heard me asking her why I should fail you. And it was in that moment I realized that no matter what, your work ethic speaks for itself. So had I not done everything and was eager to learn and all the things that he mentioned, he probably would have been easily persuaded to fail me. And so from that moment on, I'm like, all right, hard work. This is what I gotta do. I gotta keep going. It was confirmation that I was on the right track of doing what I needed to do. So I finished that rotation site, and he's like, you know, someday you're gonna be working at a medical clinic making $50 an hour, and you're gonna be the only PA there, and I wanna make sure that you're equipped to handle that, and that's why we're so hard on you. I finished it, he passed me, I did not fail. I went through the program, and then it became, how many days before you graduate? 30 days?
36.
It was 6 months before graduation. I was like, I need a job. 6 months. I had like one more end of rotation exam left. I had the didactic whole everything where they're like, we taught you all this stuff, now we're gonna test you on it. I forgot the name of that test. And then you have CPX where you have one OSCE after the other, and they're videotaping you, like Paul is now. Then are you okay? Do you need a PA? So I wasn't focused on any of that end of rotation stuff. I was like, I need a job. Because once I graduate, everyone else is graduating at the same time, and there's not gonna be any job availability. So 6 months before, I started looking for a job. I started sending out cover letters and everything, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna land an interview, and I did. And I'm out there interviewing, and I'm doing phone interviews while everyone else is studying for the end of rotation exam. So when the exam comes, I come to campus, and they're like, everyone's like all like anxious. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, the test is today. I was like, are you serious? And they're like, yeah, you didn't know? You didn't check the calendar? And I'm like, no, I was like interviewing. And then everyone's like, interviewing? It was November. We graduated in May. And I was like, oh boy. So I was like, I'm gonna just wing it. I'm gonna see what I really know so that I know what to study for the pants. That was what I told myself. And I failed it. A director called me into her office, and she's like, you're the least likely to pass the pants. So you're gonna have to go to tutoring every night after class. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I was looking for a job. I have a job now, so we're all good. She's like, no, you're making excuses. You're making excuses, so you have to study. We have to have you go to tutoring. And I went to tutoring, and although I was mad, every single day I had to meet with this lady for tutoring, I realized that I really needed it because I had to address that same problem from Drew, from UC Riverside, post-bac, was test-taking anxiety. So I needed to make sure that it was under control before I got to sit down for the pants. Now there were people in my class that didn't pass, and it wasn't me. So I passed the pants on the first time, and I already had a job. I didn't have that stress of going in. Now, I would not recommend you doing that. Don't do that because it was stressful. Study for the things that you have left. You have to finish all of your business here at the program because you have to complete this program successfully in order to sit for the PANCE. Now, once you take the PANCE, you're gonna keep your resources limited. It might stress you out. Someone's using PAEZ, someone's using this, Hippo, whatever, and you feel like you have to use all these things. Just use the few resources that's recommended by your program and also that works for you, and you will do well. Now, if you have an issue with test taking or taking a test on the computer, you need to come to the program, let the director know so that she can provide you with the resources you need. If you don't address it, you will be retaking the PANCE. So dig deep now and say, do I have an issue with taking standardized tests? This is not the biggest test of your life, but you do want to perform well so that you can start helping the community. So you want to address whatever issues you have now. And I really strongly encourage you, if it's on your mind, like maybe I should talk to her about this, please do that today. Sorry. So I take the PANCE, I pass it, I start working, and now I work at a federally qualified health center, FQHC. I had to do that for 3 years. When I started working, I was like, finally, I made it, I'm practicing medicine, and the supervising physician I worked with was like, hey, put your stuff over there, put your phone on silent. I don't want to know if you have a cat or dog. I don't like a lot of noise. I play this white noise, it was literally white noise, to block out everything else, and if you have any questions, ask me. First day, 18 patients, fresh out of school. I was like, hi, I'm the USCPA. I was all messed up. I didn't know how to introduce myself. And I'm like, how am I supposed to get through these patients? It's noon, everyone's going to lunch, and I was packing my stuff to go to lunch, and they're like, no, what are you doing? You still have 5 patients to see. I was like, I'm going to lunch. They're like, no, you gotta finish these patients. And I'm like, but what happens to my lunch? And they're like, well, you get a lunch when you finish the patients. And it was just really complicated to understand, like, well, when am I supposed to eat? They're like, if you don't finish the patients, then you probably don't get a lunch. And I struggled so much the first week. It was like I started July 2nd, there was a 4th of July holiday, and on the 5th of July, I was just like, I quit. And I was like, community medicine is not for me. I'm done, I can't do this. I don't feel like I have the support. And it was my husband, my mentors around me, they were just like, no, you're where you're supposed to be. You're just probably not with the right supervising physician. So as you're looking for jobs, you have to interview them as well. You don't want to take a job that's paying you $70 an hour, no supervising physician on anywhere in sight, because you want that support early out. You want to take the job that's going to offer you a salary that you can live on, and also have a supervising physician that's supportive. I wasn't thinking of that. I'm like, I want to be in the community. It's 4 miles from my house. I'm going to serve the community. But I did that for 2 years, and it was horrible. Again, with the, I couldn't sleep. What are some of the other things? Fatigue, crying, all these things again. And I said, you know what? I got to help myself. And so I told my director, I was like, hey, either you find me a supervising physician that's supportive and that will help me, or I am going to go to another company. So they did, and I've been there ever since. I'm still with the same company that I got hired 6 months before graduation. And it was because I spoke up. I was like, look, this supervising physician is not working out for me. And recently, that same supervising physician came to me at a meeting, and he was just like, I realized what I needed to do for a new graduate, and I didn't do it. And now that I've worked with so many PAs after you, I now want to apologize to you. And I was like, are you serious? Because I talk so bad about you. Like, I'm like, thank you so much. This means so much to me, like to have you apologize. And he was just like, yeah, because I didn't know the hand holding that you needed as a PA. And we go into this field so we can practice medicine, help the physician, also for them to mentor us. There's a lot of things that we didn't learn in the program that you're going to learn from your physician. You want to use Bactrim for a UTI, that was on every test. And then your physician is like, no, this person has kidney disease. And you're like, okay, well, what are my other options? It's no longer a test, it's real life medicine. So if you don't have the support, you're not going to do well. And you don't want to put yourself in that situation because you did not come this far for all this autonomy just to fail. lose your license and now I'm seeing you checking me in at the gym, you know? So you just want to make sure, and it happens. People lose their license doing too much, all these other things that are going on, people lose their license. It is possible, and you don't want to be one of those persons. So I've been with my company, Northeast Community Clinic, since 2014, and I'm still there. Like I said, I just got the loan repayment, the $50,000, and that's up in August. And I'm probably still going to stay with them because I love continuity of care in the community. One of the things, like, I got this question, I still get this question. I walk into the room and I'm like, "Hi, how are you?" And they're like, "So how long are you going to be here?" That's the community, because so many people, they go in and they're like, "I can't do this, this is too hard," and then they leave, or they do their scholarship repayment and then they're out, and then they just leave the patient, and then the patient stops going because they're like, "Well, I developed this relationship with this person and I told them everything about my life, and then they just left me." And so then you get, "Well, I'm not taking my medicine because Dr. So-and-so left, and I really trusted Dr. So-and-so." There's a trust issue in the community that as PAs, we can really help our patients overcome that. But if we get in the community and then turn our backs on them, then they're still gonna have that trust issue. And so they guilt trip me. Yes, they do. They're like, "How long are you gonna be here?" And then now I have patients saying, "Oh, you're still here, huh?" It's like, yes, I'm still here. And I will still be here because continuity of care is very, very, very important. And as PAs, we provide more opportunity for people to get medical care, and we don't want to take that opportunity away. On an average day, I might see anywhere from 20 to 30 patients. If it rains in California, meaning drizzling, I might see 6 or 7 patients, right? So it's very widespread. I think yesterday I saw 24, 25 people, but it's asthma, flu, virus season, so we're seeing a little bit more. And the visits are now a little bit easier for me because I've developed a relationship. People trust me, they look forward to seeing me. I'm here today, and so my patients who I'm like, "Oh, you can go and see my supervising," they're like, "No, I'll just wait till you come back." I'm like, "Okay, but I really need you to see my supervising." So if you're going into community medicine, just know we welcome you with open arms. Please come. The patients are so appreciative. They might not show it, they might not tell you that. I've been told some really bad things, but as time goes on, you recognize by them showing up to their appointment, that's their appreciation. By you just telling them, talking to them, everyone is like, don't eat a lot of salty foods. But coming from someone who knows about the community, I can be like, "Hey, I saw you down there at that food truck getting your fruits, that was great and all, but then you had them put tahini on top of all that, like that, just get the fruits, no tahini." And they're like, "Okay." And then I have patients bringing their fruit cups up like, "See, I didn't get any tahini, so it's good." But if you don't understand the community, you're not able to tell them that. And all of you here have gone through this program and you guys are doing great things in the community, so you already know. So I think it would just be such a great opportunity, not only for you, but for the community to have all of you in community medicine. And it's not just primary care, it's mental health, it's OB-GYN, it's HIV specialty. We have all of these things right here in the community. And you're already familiar. I saw on YouTube you guys were biking through the community. And how great would that be if you walked into a patient's room and they're like, "Hey, you were the one who, was there, or we saw you, or you did this," and you just told that patient so much by them just recognizing you. Or you having on your Drew pin and they're like, "Oh my gosh, they actually did a garden and fed this family." And so you're already doing community things, why not practice community medicine, right? So I don't know what else to say besides the fact that I am super happy, I'm super blessed to be where I am, to be in a profession with the flexibility. I can do primary care today, dermatology, whenever. I can apply for neurosurgery position. It's just so amazing. And I've never been so thankful to have a C on my name, right next to it. So what I did was I would start mentoring students because I was like, you know what? My mom motivated me with shoes. And so when I do talks, I try to wear something that matches my personality, and that's just every day. I'm now starting to wear sneakers at work. I'm introducing it little by little. I had one patient, she was like, "Dang, doc, you're the first doctor I've ever had to wear J's." I was like, okay, so I can't wear J's to work. I had to step it down. But when I go out and do these talks, I wear these. These are called Shatter One backboards. And these are the women edition. And I wear them because Michael Jordan was in Italy and he did a dunk, something he's done over and over and over and over again, right? But this particular time in Italy, when he was in an orange suit, he dunked it and he shattered the backboard. He changed the game completely. So you've taken tests over and over and over again, right? And so you're gonna go into the pants and you're gonna what? You're gonna nail it, right? You're gonna be Mike Jordan in there. So that's why I wear these particular ones. And it's so, like, has so much meaning because I wrote this book. I wrote the book because I started mentoring people and I started telling them all these things about what I just shared with you. And they would send me emails like 2 months later, like, so I'm having this problem, I don't want to do this, and I would just say the same thing over and over again. So then I said, you know what, I need to put something in print to provide to the people that I'm mentoring, to let them know, like, hey, I went through this is real, here you go. And my friend said to me, why don't you write a book? Now, I've always wanted to write a book since the age of 15. That was the first time I had a racial encounter, and I was in Boston. But I didn't have the tools to say, what do you do to overcome these things? So now that I've gone through so many obstacles and I've overcome each and every one, and I'm still going through a lot of obstacles, I was just like, okay, let's write it now. I think I'm ready. So I put it into, I think it's 242 pages. I've read it 17 times. So I wrote it and then read it a lot. And then I know these books are for you, so I'm gonna pass them out, just pass them to one of your classmates. These are from Director Molini and Lindsay.
I have my copy.
All right, so if you already have a copy, just go ahead and pass it to someone else. And what I want you to do, we're gonna turn to 2 pages in here. Let's see. All right, so the first page we're going to turn to, I think, is 238. Now, if you haven't read it, we're kind of jumping ahead a little bit. So on page 238, it's a list of 5 things. This is my copy. Let's see if I got the right page number. All right, so there's a list of 5 things here that helped me get past and get through all of my obstacles. So the first one, avoiding excuses. Remember I said I kept making excuses for myself? I kept telling myself, like, no, I need a job, that's why I'm not studying. Avoiding excuses. If it runs through your mind, like, this is probably an excuse, it most likely is. And so that leads me to my second one, being honest with yourself and those around you. If you need help and that little thing flashes across your brain, like, I probably need help with this, you need help. Go to the program, go to your directors. The resources are here for you. You're a student of the program, so being honest with yourself. Being able to identify when you need help and asking for help. Being flexible. So as a PA, you already know. You go through these rotations, you have to be flexible because once you're getting used to one, what happens? You have to go to the next one. And so you have to be flexible. We show up to work sometimes and they're like, oh, the doctor's not here, we're just gonna move his schedule onto yours. Things happen in medicine and you have to be flexible. Things happen in life and you just have to be flexible, right? And the last one is being humble, never forgetting where you're coming from. Now that you have this white coat on, you can't just be like, oh, I'm untouchable. I'm here, you're gonna take this medication, you're gonna do this regimen. No, you have to remember, patients don't wanna be lectured to, they don't wanna be talked down to. They wanna sit eye level with you for you to say, I'm here to really just help you. What do you wanna do? Patient-centered care, right? So you'll flag that page, and then we'll go to page 242. And I really want you to underline this, and you're gonna refer back to this after you take the pants, after you get your first rejection from your interview, from your job. You're gonna go back to this page and you're just gonna underline that last line. Reaching your professional goals may be one of the most difficult things you do in life. But once you experience the reward of contributing to your field, you will be thankful that you never quit. And I am so thankful that I never quit and I'm here to tell you guys about my story today. Thank you. So now we have the floor open. If you guys have any questions, I'm all ears. Hopefully I can answer. Yes?
I come from the same community here in Spot 6. Why is it that you came to, why is it that you want to practice? Is it because of your upbringing in Compton?
Because of my upbringing, I can only speak from that point of view because I wasn't raised anywhere else. I mean, I did spend summers in Belize, but yes, because of my upbringings, and then also because no one else is trying to do this. It's not like doctors are running to the community to be like, hey, I want to do this. You have a few people that are doing that. And to be a PA and be so flexible, I'm like, what other community should I go to? There's none other. And underserved communities are all over. They're all over. Rural areas is just a community that doesn't have a lot of resources. I mean, I work in downtown LA, so it's just a little pocket that is underserved. So my upbringing, my family, and also my program. It was a family medicine program, and so they really push community and just being in the community, mental health, and just how us being in the community can really save people's lives. Not how smart you are, just you being there can save someone's life. I had a guy who had back pain so bad he borrowed a walker from his next door neighbor. Nobody wants a walker. I immediately ordered an MRI. It was cancer. He had gone to the ER multiple times, but in the community, you understand that nobody's walking around with a walker, right? That's the last thing they want. And so you're able to pick up on these context clues that can help you in your medicine. And so that's why I chose community health. Yes?
Can you explain your cover and why the shoes?
So the cover and the shoes, I love sneakers, right? The stethoscope is purple. That's the first stethoscope I purchased for the program. And the shoes hanging on the wire is because a lot of times people have myths about what that means. And in the book, I talk about how there's no one meaning to that. And that might surprise a lot of you here today. Some people see that and they're like, it means there's a drug house. Some people see that it means it's a territory. But in the Army, if you see that, you know someone passed, you know they're going on to the next level. Near a graduate school, if you see that, you know someone got their thesis approved. So people so often form myths about people in the community before they even get to know that person, and that's what happened to me so often through my life, that's what the cover of that book means. So it's literally, don't judge a book by its cover.
And the Compton Diagnosis?
The Compton Diagnosis is because I am from Compton. I diagnose, I love to diagnose, I love to figure out what people have, but also so often we prematurely diagnose ourselves with failure because of our past, our surroundings, what someone else did. And so someone didn't pass and they've got all these prerequisites, so you're not even gonna try because you know so-and-so who didn't pass. And when we diagnose ourselves with that, we get nowhere. And that happened to me so often. I'm never gonna be anything. How many times? I'm never gonna be in medicine. I had a director from a program, which really made me really do this title. And he said, you're never gonna be anything in medicine. You might wanna consider another field. And that was the night I attempted suicide. And I was like, I'd rather be dead. If I can't do anything in medicine, I'd just rather not live. And that's what one person told me. And I was like, all right, that's it. I'm out. I don't need to be here. I don't need to face another rejection. But I'm so glad. What does that line say in the last line of the book? That I never quit. Yes?
I know your mom always wanted you to be a doctor.
Yeah.
How does she feel about you?
She feels like I'm still going back to school. She'll tell people, but now she's out there saying, but she's saying physician's assistant, and I'm like, no, just say PA, mom. And she's like, it's my accent. But she doesn't really understand, and it's a great teaching opportunity to tell her that as PAs, we can treat, we can diagnose. I write prescriptions. She tells me, oh, I'm having this problem. When I go to the restroom, it really hurts. I'm gonna go to the ER. I'm like, Mom, you can go to your doctor tomorrow. She's like, no, you don't understand. I'm like, all right. This was like a couple of months ago. So she's just, it takes a lot of time for people to understand how vital we are into the medical profession. And that's okay because I love it. It's just a teaching opportunity. I just get to keep on telling her. And when I wear scrubs, she's like, oh, you have on your nursing outfit. I'm like, no. So I'm either a nurse or I'm like, I'm like, Mom, PA. And I just keep telling her over and over again what we can do, what we're capable of doing. And I mean, I wish as PAs we can bring your family to work day so they can really see that what you do. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
What advice would you have for a new grad that does start in medicine?
Was it 238? Page 238? Yeah. Being flexible, being humble, those are really important because when you start, you probably have this expectation, and then just get rid of all expectations right now. And just making sure when you interview that you are interviewing the company as well, and that they fit your personality, it's a good fit for you, because who you work with is more important than where you're working. And if you don't get a good feeling, like this might not be the great fit for you, then you probably want to look at other opportunities. Also, again, checking in with the program. A lot of times, the medical field is really small, so a lot of times you'll be like, hey, I'm gonna go interview at this company, and then someone will probably say, oh no, wait until you got 2 years of experience, or they might say, oh, it's a great fit for a new grad. So you do want to talk to those around you, and like I said, utilizing the resources that you have here. Your program has been around for a very long time, so other Drew graduates probably worked somewhere, so you want to tap into that alumni factor, and just being humble and being flexible. I would not focus on the dollar amount. I would not. And I say this, if you are able to get this salary and you're able to live, pay your rent or whatever, I would not look for the highest paying job, because you really do need that support coming out. Because as a first year PA, you can come and ask me, what should I start this diabetic patient on? You can ask me that your first year. But your second year, if you ask me that, I'm gonna be like, who are you and where did you come from? So you want to be at a company that you know you're going to have the support that you need. Any other questions?
Mine's more of a comment. I'm just going to say thank you so much for sharing your story. I know a lot of people with minority status or color status don't have someone to look up to. A lot of us have faced defeat as well. People telling us you can't do this because of who you are or what you look like. So thank you so much. This is the second time I'm hearing you speak, and your story is just so inspirational.
Aw, thank you. You're probably bored out of your mind. Is there a question over here?
I was just interested, I know just from the early parts you were talking about how initially you were set up becoming going to neurosurgery. So what influenced you to change your path to go into primary care medicine as a PA?
So the program, I did not know how much of a need primary care had. I didn't know that they were lacking providers. So the program really highlighted that. Also, the scholarship. When you get the National Health Service Corps scholarship, you actually have to go into something in the community, and so they have different levels of mental health, primary care, OB-GYN. I didn't want to specialize right out of school because I wanted to see what I actually liked. Because once you specialize, you're kind of limiting yourself. So I have a friend who went into ortho right after PA program, and then he's like, oh yeah, we had this patient come in and his lips were blue. What do you call that again? And I'm like, cyanosis? What? And he's like, I haven't used a stethoscope since I've been in ortho. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I didn't want to just tie myself into one specialty. I wanted to do primary care, which is every single thing that you can imagine. And then just say, okay, which one do I like? And if I want to specialize, I'll specialize after that. But it was the program, the scholarship, and then recognizing how much of a need there was in medicine in primary care. Yes?
Did you continue therapy during PA school?
Yeah. When you are the only whatever fill in the blank, you really do need help. I'm speaking for myself. I really needed that confidence, and I also needed my mentors. So I recommend, to your question, a mentor. It could be anyone. You can have more than one mentor, because you want a mentor that's someone that is in a field that you want to be in or in your same field, and they have the expertise to either navigate obstacles and get through things. So I reached on my mentors, was going to therapy, and just kind of maintaining my sanity. I was still doing the things I love, work-life balance, especially in the PA school and the program. I was playing basketball, I was going on hikes and running and just keeping myself active. You never want to stop doing those things. Any other questions? Oh, yes.
So one of the things that you talked about that I feel like I can really relate to is that feeling of a patient saying to you, like, I don't need to go to therapy, I'm not crazy, right? And so it sounds like you kind of even had some stigma around going to therapy, which is why you had that resistance when the dean told you that.
Yeah.
So how do you help your patients to work through that, to see that, you know, that may be a really beneficial thing for them, not even just patients, but just people in general?
Yeah. So for myself, I use what my husband said. Just go one time. If you like it, keep going. So I use that still to this day with patients. We have, so the community medicine, you'll have little pockets of resources. So now our company, we have a LCSW. So a licensed social worker there on site now. And so what I'll do is say, I'll make it very simple for them. It's in the same place where you come. It's in the same office. She's right down the hall. We can see her now. You don't have to go anywhere. You're familiar with the check-in process. It's very easy. No one knows you're going. It doesn't say mental health on the outside. And they're like, yeah. And then I say, just go one time. If you hate it, come and tell me. If you like it, keep going. To this day, 4 years, I've never had anyone say, I don't like that person. I had one person, I take this back. I had one guy say, I didn't get along with her. And I said, there are 1 million therapists in California. Let's try another one. And we tried another one. And he's like, I love her. She's great. So just providing them with options, you know. We feel anxious and depressed most of the time. We feel like we don't have options. So I address that on the front end. Like, these are the options. She's right here. It's easy. It's feasible. You can get there. Your insurance covers it. A lot of times I've noticed with patients, they don't want to go anywhere that has mental health plastered on the outside. Or if it's like a place where people are hanging out in front and they have to walk through those same doors. So I'll say, you know, this place is very hidden, you know, but now that we have it in our office, it's really, really easy to say, hey, you should check her out. Have a meeting with her. 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Yes?
I remember telling you this last time we saw each other at USC, and I was just like, can you repeat everything you just said? We had this, you know, experience at USC and take it to Charles Drew, and you're like, yeah, I will. And I just want to say, yeah, thank you again for coming, but also the fact that like we don't have seniors like third years ahead of us, like we're literally paving the way. So everything that you're like telling us, like it's amazing. Like you know, the fact that we're the inaugural class, we're trying to pave the way for the second years, the first years, and like it's really it's beneficial to the health of the student to see somebody ahead of you. They're doing it. They're taking a good stride. They're doing it with class, with dignity, with like happiness, even though they're dying inside, right? Thank you. You're having depression, you're crying, but you know, it's just your aura. It's amazing, and I love it. And like, I'm really happy.
Thank you. Thank you. I even wore the same thing because you asked me to.
I noticed. I was like, yes, that's the same outfit.
So, yes.
I wanted to second what folks have been saying, particularly for Tuma, and I think that you should actually come back and speak to the pre-PA students as well. I think that would have a huge impact on folks who are considering PA school or worry about their grades, who are thinking about how to get in, etc. I think that'd be really important.
I'd be open to it if Paul didn't show up. I like him, but
actually, I don't know. That probably was the intention initially before being put in this room, but
We have further intentions.
yeah.
I don't know. Just the camera makes me really nervous. I'm sweating through this. He said, "Don't look at me. Just act like I'm not here." So I have not looked at him. But I will talk to you. I'll talk to them about that. So I brought, at the last minute, I text your director and I was like, okay, so I have this person for my job that I was thinking of bringing, just so last minute. She's like, yeah, that would be great. So Livy, come up. She's from my company, Northeast Community Clinic. So she's here to answer any questions you might have about community health, about our company. I know you guys are third years, you should not be focusing on your jobs, but she's here and you can ask questions to me, to her. If I lack in an area about the company, then she can fill in for that. So if you guys have any questions about it. So Northeast Community Clinic, you want to tell them about our company?
Yeah, sure. Also, if you have any questions just about the interview process, I know for a lot of you, you're getting started in your career, so there are some questions you might have. What questions you should ask when you're interviewing, if anyone has any of those questions, definitely. So we are a federally qualified health center, so that pretty much means is we are here to help the community. So you're going to meet a lot of organizations, and pretty much you just have to find an organization that's the right place for you. Everybody tries to help the community in their own way, so you just have to find what it is that you want to do. So Ms. Houser has actually been with us 2014? Yeah, so she's been with us for some time. And so what we do is we see family medicine, internal, pediatrics, women's health. So we, like she said, we try to have everything in one location. So patients don't really have to go between different locations because it's hard enough to get them in one place. Our no-show rate is pretty high because of the population that we deal with. So we also have shuttles that can take the patients to and from their appointments. So that does make a little bit of a difference. Let's see. Well, for us, we're very new grad friendly. So we will start them off at about 12 to 14 patients initially. And in 3 to 6 months, we try to get you up to 20 to 24. So we build your patient pattern at your own pace. We have the supervising physicians at the site to make sure that you have the support that you need. If we don't have a supervising at that site, we'll have you trained somewhere else for about 6 months and then have you transition to where you're going to be at. So those are good questions to ask when you're interviewing. Do you have a supervising there? Can you do a clinic tour? For example, us, we have the availability for you to go to site, speak to the providers there, see what your commute's going to be like. We all know how LA is, so commute is very important. Definitely ask those questions. If you're interested in loan repayment, which for example we do qualify for, ask what the HIPSA score is. So our sites are 16 across the board, and one of our sites is 18. So I do have some information about the loan repayment if you guys want additional information. So for that, you do the commitment with the program, and as long as you're working for a federally qualified health center, every 2 years it's $50,000 for your loans. So that's definitely something you want to look into and take advantage of.
I do want to add something to that. A lot of people ask me, is my salary affected because I'm getting the scholarship or I'm getting the loan repayment? It is not. There's no difference. It's actually illegal for a company to try to pay you less because you have that. So there is no difference. You get the same thing as your colleagues, and then our company actually annually you get an increase, a little bump into what you're doing or into your salary, no relation to your scholarship or your loan repayment.
And then if for any reason, you start a company, say it's with us, and within a year, it's just not the place for you, all you have to do is transfer your commitment to another federally qualified health center, and that's it. So with us specifically, we don't have it like an agreement, you have to be with us for a year, 2 years, 5 years. With us, that's at-will employment, so whenever you feel it's time for you to move on, you can move on. We're grateful for any time that the providers can give. What else?
Any questions for her so far?
We were learning about Medicare and Medicaid yesterday at Medi-Cal. Roughly around 4% of your clinic sees Medi-Cal Medicare patients.
It's hard to tell the percentage because it depends on the site. So we have 14 locations throughout Los Angeles, so each of them is a little bit different. So we do have Medi-Cal, Medicare, we have FAMPAD, we have HMO, PPO, self-pay. So we have pretty much the whole broad spectrum, but the majority of our patients are uninsured. Yeah. Deal with a lot of these issues. If the patients are unable to pay for their services, we have enrollers at the sites to assist them to help enroll into programs so that they can get the services that they do need. Any other questions?
Any interview questions, tips? You guys are all interview experts?
We're like crying. So like, please.
What are some of the skills or traits do you look for in grads that are good?
For us, it's not really just new grad, it's any provider. It's for you to be a practice builder. For us, you guys have probably never heard of Northeast Community Clinic, and that's because we don't advertise. The way we get around is either patients word of mouth, they refer their family, their friends, their coworkers. That's how we build a patient population. And pretty much it's you have your patients wanting to come back, and they feel comfortable with you. Because the population that we do serve is very difficult. Sometimes they're not compliant. So it's very difficult, and it's specifically coming from the background that we come from. Me being Hispanic, I can say it's home remedies all the time. Like, it's very hard to get older Hispanics to go see a doctor. They're like, oh, it's okay, just take this. But, oh, I tried it. So, pretty much just working around that.
What's the ratio that you have of like supervising positions to like PAs?
So, we can't do more than 4 to 1. So 4 either PA or NPs per physician. We try not to do more than 2 so that you can get the time that you need. Yeah, so 2 to 1.
During one sitting? Like shift, I guess you can say.
So for us, it's a little bit different. So for example, you'll have your admin time. So we block off half an hour before lunch, half an hour before the end of the day, and an additional 1 hour a week. And you meet with your supervising individual. So you have that alone time so that they can go over your charts and give you some comments. Also
in family medicine, it's Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, 6 or 7ish, and I'm in the same office with my supervising. So he sits at the desk next to me. So we do have that 1 hour admin time, but I can consult him on any case. Or if I see a gnarly rash and I don't know what it is, because rashes are very, very difficult, I'll just be like, hey, can you pop your head in and look at this? And so he's right there in the clinic at the site to be like, okay, yeah, sure. So that's what I like. It's 1-to-1 right now. It's 2 of us to 1. So every day, the PAs we work full-time Monday through Friday, and he's there 3 days a week, but he's available by phone. And with all these other technologies, like you can send them whatever you need to, but it's I don't know another company that has that close-knit. Like my friend works at a company here in LA, but his supervising is like 30 miles away, and he's able to communicate with him by phone or come into clinic once a week or something like that. We're actually working side by side with the supervising physician.
And we usually have all the providers in one office. That way, if your supervising isn't available, you can bounce questions off of each other. It's very team-oriented. Yes?
At the clinic, is there any like continuing education support, like any lectures or things like that?
So for us, we provide, we do have the CME. We have, for the PAs, it's 5 days off that you can use if you want to go take any courses or anything like that. We also provide a $1,500 stipend. So $750 of that you can use for your license renewal, your DA renewal, you're up to date. The other $750 you can use to take any courses or credits. We just don't cover travel and lodging.
We have quarterly meetings where all the providers meet, and at that meeting, if something is like recurrent, like CKD, they'll have someone speak about what's going on. If there's new things that we need to know about, like outbreaks or new vaccines, like the Zostavax is no longer, it's now Shingrix, and it's changed. So they will have someone talk about it there. If there's a new diabetic treatment, they'll have someone talk about it. Our endocrinologists will get up and do like a PowerPoint presentation. So the meetings are usually about 5 hours, and they give you the packet, and they're always open door policy to all the physicians within the company. You can send them an email to help you out. So we have it quarterly. It's not daily or weekly or anything, but you do get the 5 days off with the $1,500 stipend.
Any other questions? Yes.
For the onboarding process, usually it takes 3 to 6 months. And then you mentioned like usually do ground PC 12 to 14, you try to build them up from there. What usually happens if you don't meet the qualification after 3 to 6 months that you're not seeing minimum 12 for whatever reason? Do you work with them or do you let them go? Is that like
So we try to keep track early on, so we don't have to get there and like, oh, what's going on at this point? We try to catch it early. So as you know, we do try to help you grow as providers. So if there's anything during the onboarding process, we have this form. On that form, you let us know what procedures you're comfortable doing, what you're not comfortable doing, and you want additional training in. That way we know coming in what your strengths are and where we need to help you build. So, yes.
Hi, I'm one of the faculty members, but a lot of questions, a lot of people don't ask about this, but is your compensation based on RVUs?
No, we're actually hourly.
Okay.
For us, it's a lot, if you go past your 8 hours, which usually most of you will, it would be time and a half. So you get compensated for that time instead of being salary and everyone's working till 5 and you're working till 9 or 8 and you all get paid the same. With us, it's also a lot about the quality of care, so that's why we don't do that. If you need to spend 15 minutes, 30 minutes, even 45 minutes at your discretion with the patients, it's up to whatever time you need. So if you have a patient come in at 15 and for some reason they're the most complicated patient ever, and next time you want them at 45, even an hour, just put that in your notes and they'll already schedule them at that time.
Does everyone know what an RVU is?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So the hourly is amazing because at the end of the day, you're like, I'm here. The latest I've been to work, I got there at 8. The latest I've gotten off is like 11:30 at night. I had a suicide case. And in LA, we have one pet team that goes around the entire county to people who need a crisis intervention. So you have to wait there with your patient. And if it's an emergency, they tell you call 911. I've done that, and the cops come in and they like arrest your patient. So I was like, I'm never doing that again. So I waited until 11. And that was like within my first year of working. I got my check. I was like, oh my gosh. I was exhausted, but they pay you for the hours that you're there. So if you're not done at 5, it's not like your salary stops there. You're hourly. Now, what happens? Sometimes people take advantage of that. You will not be one of those, and they recognize that right away because they look at your patients, the quality, the notes, and everything. So you want to be very honest with your time. Sometimes I'm done at 4:30 and I want to go, but the insurances want you to be there all the way till 5, so you have to be there until 5. If there's something on the front end where you're like, you got a kid, you got to be out at this time, you want to mention that up front because in the community, we need you. We need your time there. So if you can't offer that much time, it's probably not a good fit. If you like, oh, I can only work 1 day a week and I can do this and that. You know, if you really want to work that 1 day a week and we really need a provider, probably we'll look into it. But the thing is, if you don't want to offer the time that you have to practice medicine, then community health might not be the great fit for you. But if you've got the time and you're willing to give it, the company definitely compensates you for that.
It offers health insurance, and is there a 401k?
We have 403B because we're a nonprofit. It's the same.
Is there matching at the end of the year?
Right now we are not matching. And we do offer the health benefits of medical vision benefits.
Yeah, so the lower payment plan, is it true that you guys are capping the number of like time off or paid vacation time?
Yes, you are. And if you go over, your time is just adjusted. So I'm way over just because on Thursdays I teach and then I go around and I do talks like this. So the company is so flexible. They believe in my mission. So they're like, okay, you need Thursdays off to go talk to students or you need to do this. They're like, okay, that's fine. I don't know any other company that will do that, but they believe in what I believe in. And so that's great. The company's like, yeah, but you got to figure out your whole NHSC stuff by yourself. So the time is just adjusted. They check in with you every 6 months to say, hey, submit your hours and how many days you missed. And if you're over the amount of time, I think it's 35 days a year. If you're over that includes holidays too. Yeah. So if you're over that, they just adjust your time on the end.
What does that mean?
So initially my time was supposed to be up August of 2019, but I've been off a lot, like 1 day a week, and then they sent me an email and said, you've now been adjusted to September 5th. Oh. Yeah. So, yeah. So it's like day for day. It's not like, oh, you screwed up, now you're gonna have to do another year. No, it's just as long as you're maintaining an average of full time. It's not like every day or every week you're off 1 day. As long as you are still considered full time with your company, then they just adjust it based on the days. Yeah.
Being able to hear her speak just so authentically and just being really transparent with us as a third-year student, that was something that I definitely needed to hear, was to just focus on the here and the now, finish my schooling, and then worry about job search later. It was just really inspiring.
This is awesome. It was a good talk, good experience. The book is really amazing. It was awesome to be here. Hopefully life lessons to learn by, to never give up on your dream, and to always shoot for the stars, even when people doubt you.
I thought Natalie Houser's talk was really inspirational, and I think it's something that we need to hear more of. People of color, people of minority status sharing their stories. I feel a lot of us of minority backgrounds have suffered the same sort of defeat, people telling us, you know, you can't do this, or being turned away because of what we look like, who we are. So it's really inspiring to see someone who grew up in this community, who faced the same struggles, sharing her success story.
I really enjoyed how she was able to give us a perspective for a mentor, because being in an inaugural class, we didn't have the ability to look at the ones who have gone before, so it was really inspiring and motivational to hear her stories and for her to share her encounters with us.
One of my favorite things I took away from hearing Natalie speak was just being able to see someone who looks like me, who's lived a similar life to me, and to see the things, or to hear about the things that she's gone through and how she was able to overcome all of those obstacles and get to where she is and be to where she is today. Talking to us was just, it really allowed everything to come full circle for me.
When we went to the list of 5 things in the book to help us get through stressful times, I thought that was really something that spoke to me and something that I can use in the future.